Okay, quick disclosure, Plaid Hat Games have sent me this one to review, so thank you very much guys. I have to say, when this one arrived at my front door, it was a bit of a shock. Bioshock Infinite, the video game, was a game in first person, whereas Bioshock Infinite Siege of Columbia zooms way out to look at the big picture. Two factions are fighting over the floating city of Columbia, wanting to control all the areas and get the points, whereas the guy you played in the video game is a third party who keeps coming around and blowing stuff up. So, what's good about this one? It looks like a dudes on a map area control game. That's nothing new. What does it do that's interesting? The one thing this game does that's very, very good is it focuses things. It focuses you on a series of smaller, more important decisions, rather than forcing you to push 10 armies across a map and have a bunch of little skirmishes along the way. So yes, you do control sections of the board and score points. You also have victory point cards that are conditions you can fulfill to score points, much like Nexus Ops, and like Nexus Ops. There are tokens on the board to start with that you can attack and turn into money. So again, it's not necessarily anything particularly new in that regard, but it's the devil's in the detail, because on a turn you have 5 cards, right? And these cards have to be used for everything. You use them to vote on the events that come up to try and make them pass and fail. You use them to turn into money, and you throw them into combat. 5 cards, right? You've got to be careful with those. You can use them to bluff a bit, but you've just got to think about what you're going to do. However, the options are not limitless. You're not going to be paralysed because there's only 5 cards. It focuses it down on important things. When it comes to moving units, you can move 4. Now you can move them adjacent, or you can hook them up to the skyline, which is like a roller coaster track that you can hang off, and you can take them as far across the board as you like. But you have to roll dice for each section you travel along, and unless you get a thumbs up, you're going to be paying cards to keep them alive, or choosing to let them die. Now if you're paying cards, you've only got 5, remember. So it's just, I don't know, there's not as many things that you're doing in a turn, but they're all important. Like I say, you can only move 4 guys, so that's a potential maximum 4 different combats. And the guys, you've got 3 types. 3 types. You've got dice of white, blue and red variety, which are kind of crap, better and really good. And so, by a combination of forces, you get a combination of different dice, and the dice are custom, so you're not just looking at a standard D6 6-point swing sort of thing. And then when it comes to fighting, you can put combat cards in, you know, one of the 5 that you have might be really good. However, it's not as simple as that, because the cards you have, with their different stats on them, can be upgraded. By doing certain things in the game, meeting certain conditions, you gain upgrades, and these happen pretty damn fast, right? You can unlock special abilities, you can upgrade the stats. Like, in one game we ran out of money, so we upgraded the shotgunners to have like more monetary value, and we cashed them all in. There's a lot of flexibility, but again, it focuses your decisions on important things rather than a number of meh kind of things. You're having to think about a lot of different, very simple decisions rather than trying to math out complex battles or rely on a whole bunch of random dice rolls. It's a game that allows quite a lot of genuine strategy and tactical thinking. In one turn, I actually managed to get 6 out of the 10 points you need to win by realising that I could fulfill like several cards and take several areas. Now, this wasn't unfair. My opponent had every chance to see this coming. He just didn't see it. He didn't see the advantage that I saw. He didn't get that strategy. And the nice thing is, you can only claim the victory point cards if it's your turn. And when you're voting on the event cards, you can win a first player marker. Which means that if he'd have won the first player marker, he'd have had first crack at the victory cards, he'd have had the ability to attack me and stop me getting those areas. The other thing that's nice is it's a game, although it favours the defender, it also favours bold play. You know, you can be ballsy in this game. You can look at the options and go, well, I could just slowly advance across here, or I could fly 3 of my guys all the way across the map and strike right at the heart of that guy's territory. That's going to shake him up. It's great. You can do these precision strikes, and yeah, they may not work, but nowhere is safe. Nobody is ever assured that they have definitely got Australia and they're not moving out of it. You know, turtling doesn't really work. You've got to spread your forces thin if you're going to cover ground. There are a lot of things that have been cleverly designed to stop it becoming a back and forth or a stalemate or just a slog in the mud, you know. This is a game that's very open and very dynamic. And one thing though, it's kind of not very thematic, which is weird. If you've never played Bioshock Infinite, the video game, this game will not explain itself to you and you will not understand what's going on. You know, a couple of pages just covering the factions, the city, a few of the key players would have worked wonders. If you come into this blind, you'll not understand who Booker and Elizabeth are, or what a tear is, or any of that stuff. Which is kind of sad, you know, because the game's got so much going for it, and it feels like when it stretches to try and add theme, those are the flimsiest elements. You've got Booker, and Booker will basically move at random and attack you sometimes, right? Which, you know, makes sense. That's what he did in the video game. He's fine. Elizabeth, however, is just kind of there. She attracts Booker to her, and she's got a timeline card. You choose one of three, right? So it's different each game. The timeline cards, they trigger off events sometimes, and then when the events happen, sometimes they do stuff. And they're quite thematic if they did things, but generally they kind of don't. When we've played it, she's not had much consequence. And seeing as all she does is attract Booker, and all Booker does is kick your ass, you kind of want to avoid her. You know? There's a card that comes up that makes her worth victory points if you control the area she's in. I kind of feel like that should have been in there right from the start as a standard thing, is that if you control Elizabeth, you get points. Because you're risking your ass for Booker to come and kick it. So it may as well make her worth something. The game doesn't explain even what she's for. I mean, the rulebook it has some holes, you know, things like do same type abilities stack, which in fact they do, I asked the designer. That's just, I don't know. For such a clever game, the rulebook, in terms of theme and a couple of mechanics, misses some really obvious stuff. It's a funny one, because I'm not sure if players of the video game would quite appreciate it. But if you haven't played the video game, there's no good reason for you to seek it out. Because, you know, the game's not telling you much. Mechanically though, thankfully, under that, it is great. I mean, the upgrade system's brilliant. The fact that it limits the amount of upgrades that you can have more than the other player. The fact that nothing is ever useless and no position on the board is untenable. You know, it really works for me. I love the fact that in a turn I can execute several attacks and strategies in key places and reap a reward, that I'm not just fighting for the sake of fighting or to gain a bit of land. You know, that I can do things in this game, and the best thing is, at night you can sit up with a beer and go, I know what I did wrong. I know what I should have done. Next time I'll do this. And what also surprised me, it's for 2 or 4 players. You can play it one-on-one or as 2 teams. The team game really works. The 4-player version isn't just tacked on. The 4-player version is a very, very good way to play this game. Unlike a lot of games where a 2-player feels like it's just been split into 4 for the sake of it. No, this is a genuine 2 or 4-player team game, and I really enjoyed the team aspect. So what's left to say about Siege of Columbia? Like I say, it's a funny beast. I'm not sure who it's for. It doesn't explain itself. It explains the mechanics, but not the world. And as such, that's kind of enough in a way, because this game has been thought about a lot. A lot of the ideas have been revised and refined from the previous work on City of Remnants. I think it's possibly the best dudes on a map game I've ever played. And although you won't be thinking about it thematically, you'll always be thinking in terms of numbers and dice and cards, rather than people actually doing things. It's one of the few games I've ever played that has made me want to come back to it. And I've thought, you know what, I really want to play that again. So, thank you very much to Plaid Hat Games for giving me the opportunity to review this one. It's taken me quite a while, I've had a lot to get my head around, but it's been well worth it, and I really hope this game gets noticed by more people. So, would you kindly join me for my next review? Bye for now.